Hello and welcome to the Student Council, an educational advice podcast made for students and by students where everyone is qualified to talk about their own experiences. My name is Carter Dvorak. I am your host, and today I am so happy to be joined by Juliana Decker from Aquinas College. Juliana, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so fun to catch up. Always nice to talk to a friend from high school. I'm curious, what has been your favorite 5 minutes of the past week?
Of the past week, probably, I'd say last night was probably one of my favorite moments because my friend Scott came down. He lives upstairs, and he hung out with my sweet mate Avery and I, and we just played like old childhood like board games together, and we just like had snacks, and that's what we did all night pretty much. So it was like a nice fun Sunday night.
That's amazing. What are the childhood board games in question? Like what were your favorite childhood board games?
I had this game called Would You Rather, and they ask like these really weird questions of like what you would rather do, and then you have to try to guess like what the other person would pick, and then you get like points for it. And then there's like Never Have I Ever, like those like classic games. And then we had this game called Baloney, and you read like a fun fact, and you could either choose to tell the truth or lie, and then you had to like guess if the other person was lying or telling the truth. And there's just like these weird fun facts. So those are like what we did last night.
Those are super fun. Always great games to play. So you're going to Aquinas College. What has your college experience been like? What are you studying there at Aquinas? What are you kind of thinking to do after graduation? Just give me the whole rundown.
Yeah, I'm taking right now, I'm kind of like a health science major without being declared that. But I'm trying to maybe do psychology. But I'm not sure. I want something in the middle of health science and psychology. So maybe neuroscience. Yeah, and I'm not sure if I choose to go that way, I'd probably have to go to grad school. But otherwise, I'm not sure what I would do after.
You were an AP Psych in high school. Was that like a big factor in you kind of getting interested in psychology?
Yeah, I really loved that class. And I kind of realized, I really found it so interesting. And I loved Miss Lewis, and I loved how she taught that class. So it made it really interesting. And I kind of realized I liked it because it didn't feel like work when I was doing that class. It just was really fascinating. So we'll see.
I feel the same way. Like, it's funny, I'm in a media psychology class right now, and it's like we're going back to all the stuff that we learned in AP Psych, and I'm like, I know these things. And it was really cool. It's like I've definitely been thinking about that class more recently too, which has been really fun. And again, I don't feel like, it doesn't feel as much like work when I'm like writing about it or having to do stuff with it, because I'm like, this is just really interesting to me.
I completely agree.
Absolutely. Now I'm curious about like what is overall kind of the culture of Aquinas? What were like some of the traditions of the college, and like what really led you to picking that school?
Yeah, so originally I was kind of looking somewhere close by. So I went to like Michigan State to look, and then Kelvin and Aquinas. But I kind of realized after I toured Michigan State that I didn't want a really big school. I think it's probably part of the fact that I went to Saugatuck, and I cherished like having such that small class size and community that once I went to Michigan State, I was like, I don't think I could do it. I feel like I'd get like swallowed by everyone. So I liked the smaller campuses like Aquinas and Calvin. But then Aquinas is very welcoming to me. They're religious, but they don't like impose that on you. And they're just very like open and welcoming, and they pretty much accept everyone. And they just they have that very like close-knit feel like Saugatuck did. And so that's what I think kind of like drew me in the most about Aquinas.
That's really cool. I'm really happy to hear that. Like, because I was looking it up and I was surprised. Like, I think I knew it was small, but it's only, from what I read, it was about 2,000 for like the total college size. So do you really feel like it is something like our high school where like you really know all the faces that you're seeing around?
Yeah, I actually do. It's crazy. I'll like walk around and I can like pinpoint, like recognize people where I've seen them and stuff. And it literally feels like if Saugatuck were just a little bit bigger and more spread out, like that would just be like the Saugatuck version of college. And so like everyone gets really close with the professors, and it just made me really like reminisce about Saugatuck.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely something that I've, even at a big school, I reminisce about it, whether it's like, taking similar courses, or like if there's, like I'm in a bigger school and I'm also in like a smaller like business college within the school. So it's like you do get to see some of the same faces around, and I'm like, hey, like I know you from that thing, or like these different events. So it is kind of nice to like still have a little bit of that small school feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's been really fun. Now I'm curious more about Aquinas and some of like the logistical stuff about it. I was curious, you mentioned somebody like upstairs. So what's housing like at your school? Is it like dormitories? How long are you going to be like living in on campus housing or school housing? Like, are you required to be there all 4 years or 2 years? What's the rundown?
I think we're only required to be here our freshman year. And then technically, because I'm like 45 minutes out, I could live at home my freshman year because the cutoff's like 45 minutes. So I could have been a commuter, but I felt like I wouldn't have made really good connections if I would have done that. But the housing is There's really only two main buildings, Regina and St. Joe. And I'm in St. Joe, so that's the smaller one. And it's three floors. The first floor is all girls, second one's mixed, and then the third one's all boys. And it's just two dorm rooms connected by a bathroom. So you have suite mates instead of like a communal bathroom. And that's this pretty much the same at like Regina too. They have I think they have four floors, but other than that, they're pretty much the same. And I think we really only have to be here our freshman year. Otherwise, they do have like on-campus apartments too.
Nice. Do you like the suite mate kind of connected bathroom aspect? I know you don't have anything else really to compare it to, but like, do you find that to be a nice setup for a dorm?
Yeah, I actually really like it. I when I visited Caitlin at Purdue, I saw like her communal bathrooms, and I like didn't mind them. We're okay, like it's fine, but it was just so strange to me that like you never knew who was gonna like walk in, and so that was kind of like odd to me. But I feel like I could get used to the communal bathroom if I had to. But I like having just the suite mates because it's so easy to like walk into Avery's room or like say hi to her and like go back, and then we just like get ready together sometimes in the bathroom, and I just kind of like having this a smaller space.
Yeah, I think that's really, really nice. I definitely could see how that could be a really good setup to have. I'm curious, speaking of dorm rooms, do you have like an essential dorm room item, something that you couldn't live at college without?
I would say shower shoes, like honestly. I
Yeah,
feel like that's like
facts.
such a basic response. So like I feel like a lot of people probably say that, but like there's something just so gross about the tiles at college, even when you're only sharing with like three other people. Like it's still just like so gross to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, like an extension cord. I didn't like think about that when I moved in, and then I was like, nothing's reaching the outlets. So probably an
hmm
extension cord.
Oh yeah, extension cords are absolutely critical. Even it was funny. I feel like I had a moment where I'm like, I became a high school teacher when I bought this, but I bought the like three-prong extension to like the MacBook charger, like
Mhm.
what all of our teachers would have, because again, like no outlets in the rooms, and I was like, I felt like I was like channeling Miss Lewis when I did that. But I feel like it's such a lifesaver though to have and to like be able to move around so much easier like with a computer cord.
Mhm.
What's your brand of shower shoes? Because I feel like it took me a while to pick mine. I ended up doing the like Crocs slide shoes. But, like, what
Mhm.
did you go for shower shoes?
I don't know what the brand was, but I got them off of like Bed Bath and Body Works, I think, or Bed Bath and Beyond. I always combine the two stores, but it's Bed Bath and Beyond. They were like $5, but they're actually really nice. They were very thick and pretty easy. They haven't fallen apart yet, so
There we go. That's critical to those shower shoes. Is you need durability above anything else.
you really do.
Yeah. Now, we were talking about this a bit before the episode, but I want to talk about college dining a little bit. I want to talk about, do you have multiple dining halls or just one? If you do you have like a favorite bite of food, or just a favorite like kind of food that you've had on or around campus as well, if the dining hall food doesn't always live up to its expectations?
Yeah, so we have one dining hall and it's called Weggy, and it's dining food, it's college food.
Yeah.
They have pretty decent options. Like they at least have probably like five options that you can choose from. And they always post the menu on Instagram, so you at least know what you're getting into. But normally I can find at least one thing at Weggy that I can eat, and it's normally like pretty good. Sometimes they'll surprise me. But if it's not good, we'll go to the corner, which is below Weggy. It's like in the basement part, and they normally have like burgers and quesadillas and grilled cheese and chicken tenders, like all the like good fried food.
Of
And so you get
course.
tater tots and French fries. So I feel like I go to the corner if I want comfort food or if Weggy's just really, really bad. Otherwise, there's not really anywhere else to eat. We do have like a cafe on campus that's open till like 11, the Moose, and they have like some cold cut sandwiches and snacks, or more like pastries and coffee. So I guess you can go there too if you would like something smaller.
Yeah, I do have to say, with names like Weggy and the Moose, I just love the naming system at Aquinas. These are some like top tier like college building names. So I just had to make that note.
No, I agree.
Um,
Yeah. Some of the buildings are just so funny.
yeah. Now I'm curious, kind of thinking, going back to bigger, like going into college, what were your expectations kind of heading off to Aquinas, and how's the experience so far kind of related or reshaped those?
I was really scared actually to go off to college. I
hmm
was excited a little bit, obviously, because it's just like such a change in your life. But I was very nervous for it because, especially coming from such a small school, like even going somewhere so new, even though it's only like 2,000 people, it still felt very overwhelming. And I got very used to obviously my routine for the past last, 15 years that I've been going, or not 15, I guess 13 years that I've been going to school. And it's just weird to think all of that changing so quickly. And so I was very overwhelmed. I kind of had this feeling that I was going to fail. Like it just like there's this doom that I was not going to do well. And thankfully, my first semester went very well. I've made like really good friends here, and I feel very comfortable here now. So my expectations definitely changed. It's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. It's definitely different from high school, very different, but still like very manageable. It's not as out of this world as I thought it was going to be, where I just was going to be so out of place. So
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing you bring up with that because I feel like I felt very similarly too, where it's so easy like going into college to just having like this whole entire podcast initiative was created by my fear of the unknown. Like literally, it's me being like, I don't know what college is like. I don't know what's gonna happen. And then I'm like, I gotta talk to people about it. So like, yeah, I definitely went into this really having no idea what things were gonna go in, like what I was gonna be in for and what it was gonna be like. And yeah, I think I've really found making good connections has helped, and that like I think the coursework is definitely like it can be it's challenging and complicated, but it's not like everybody's failing.
mhm,
So that's a relief for sure.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Now, thinking of advice and thinking of that stuff, I always love to ask everybody, what is the most impactful piece of advice somebody has given to you?
I would probably say, I can't remember who told me this. I think maybe it was maybe a teacher or my mom. They just brought up the point that like she told me, I think it was my mom. She told me to reflect on high school, and she's like the things that you regret in high school. She's like you can completely change in college. She's like none of these people really know you. I mean, sure there's a couple people from my school that go there, but most of the people I'm meeting are completely new. I've never had any experiences with them, so it's like you can be the version of yourself that you want to be, and you can be more adventurous if you want to be, or you can do pretty much anything because they have no idea who you are. So you can kind of essentially get a do-over. And it made it less like scary because nothing was set in stone. I could kind of do whatever I wanted to do. And so I thought that made it more exciting.
That does really make it more, it's definitely more exciting. Such a comfort to that of like, yeah, not really having, going in with not having anything really tethered to you. It's really nice to like build that fresh start. And I think even like, I think that's always an opportunity too. I think there's always room for fresh starts and stuff. Like even now, like, I don't feel like I'm locked into to my personality as a second semester, first year. Like, I definitely hope and pray that this isn't who I stay forever or for the rest of college. So I completely agree. That's a great piece of advice. Now, further in the advice tree, I'm also curious. You have an ultimate tip for somebody kind of going into college?
That's a good question. I would probably say don't overthink it. I spent a lot of
Mm-hmm.
my like summer worried about it, and even just like the years leading up to going to college, like knowing that oh we have to take the SATs, then we're gonna have to like apply to colleges, and then we have to pick. Like every year there was always like that buildup of having to go, and it's like once you get there, it's not underwhelming, but it's just like wow, I wasted all that time worrying when it's just like it's gonna work out how it's supposed to. That's kind of like the philosophy I've developed is everything's gonna work out how it's supposed to, whether or not it's how you planned or not, it's just gonna work out. And I think for everyone like coming to that decision, it's like just let it happen and like follow what you want to do, and everything should work out how it should. I mean, don't waste your whole time worrying about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that philosophy. I think that it was something that I think I really tried to internalize in like the application season. And especially, I think that's a really important time, probably also one of the most difficult times to think about. Like, it's all going to be okay in the end. And you're sitting there staring at the Common App. Like, the Common App doesn't make me feel that way. At all, but it's such an important piece of I think the whole college process because like you don't like it's so much of those decisions and things are so just kind of like complicated and various and things that like yeah it's gonna be okay wherever you end up and like the school is gonna do well because I hear you when I remember being in like middle school being like how's this gonna affect my college like how am I gonna get into college and I'm like you're in seventh grade my man like you don't have to worry about this.
Exactly. Like there was just no need to worry at certain points in my life.
No. Yeah, because even the worry didn't like add much. Like
Mm-mm.
unless it was like the right amount of like productive stress when it was actually like application season. But I feel like everything else until then it was just kind of like existential dread. But
Yes.
yeah, now I'm curious about this one. I love talking to people from Saugatuck about this question. But what is a moment from high school that you still think about?
Probably when Kaylin and I redid that room right next to Miss Moore. That was probably one of like the best memories I have of high school because when I tell people about that when we I've talked to people here about high school and their high school experiences, and that got brought up once, and people were just like so shocked by that concept. And I was like thinking about it, I'm like, I guess that is kind of weird. Like, what high schooler like remodels this random room in their school and like knocks out a desk and paints it and then puts chairs in it and a mini fridge and has like a hangout spot? Like, that's so
Yeah,
odd. It's so odd when I think about it, but it just like perfectly encompasses Saugatuck in the sense that we were just friends with our teachers. Like, we had such good relationships with our teachers, and they genuinely cared about us and they just wanted us to be happy and successful. And I didn't dread going to school because it was just such a comfortable environment and it was fun. Like, I remember so many lunch periods that I would sit and talk with Miss Moore, or like after school, or Kaylin and I would just like come and sit with her during like a free hour or like a study period we had with her. And it's just those types of relationships with the teachers are like what really play in my mind.
yeah, it's something really, really special. Something so funny that that was your answer is that Kaylin said the exact same thing, which was really, really fun. And I wholeheartedly agree. That room, I think, is something like, I think in the moment I was like, this is so special. But even now that I think back on it, I'm like, that is so, so cool, unique, and special. Where like, that was just such a cool experience. I think I have some pictures of it, which I'm so happy to have. Because like, apparently it's gone now too. Last I heard, like, just
Yeah.
as a consequence of the remodel. But like, that even makes it even more like unique. It's like, that was just for us. That was a little
Yes.
room that existed for our time there. And like, I feel like so much of high school, it's like it begins and ends with me. And usually that's not the case. But for
I
us
know.
in that tiny little secret room, it was. And that was so sweet.
I don't know, the teachers and our principal, they just made it very special. Like, our whole entire high school experience seemed very special. And I feel like not a lot of people can say that about their high school
Mm-hmm.
experience, but like luckily I can say we had really good teachers and just a really good experience, which made it hard leaving. But it also
Yeah.
felt like it really prepared me for going to college because you want to make those relationships with other people. And I mean, Mrs. Moore was probably my favorite teacher. She was one of my favorite teachers. And she just was so kind because I remember Kaylin and I redid the room a little bit. And then one day we walked in and she like completely refurnished it. Like, she brought in two chairs and she brought in like supplies and snacks. And she wrote on the like whiteboard in there, she's like, happy final trimester, guys. And it was just so sweet. Like, she just made everything very special.
Oh, she was truly a beacon of sunshine in that school. So many teachers were, and it's something where I definitely have it churning in my head that I will have all of our like Saugatuck teachers and people on here as well too. Like, I think that'll be really, really fun to get to talk to them. But yeah, there were just so many. Like, I think it's very, very rare for anybody to high school to be like, yeah, honestly, high school teachers, all tens across the board. Like, no, I had an issue with none of them, and like that is something so special.
Like, I truly really did love all my teachers and they had such a good impact on me. And I feel that is so rare the more I talk to other people, is that they just like were really happy to leave high school and get out. And they're like, yeah, it was okay. But it's just, I don't know, I have a lot of happiness when I reflect on my high school experience. And the teachers just really account for most of that happiness.
No, they do. I was trying to find pictures of that room. I know I have them somewhere, and I got to pull them up. But like, yeah, it is truly like truly remarkable in that sense of having so many strong connections with those teachers, and even like going back and like being able to continue to talk to them, and they still care,
Mhm.
and they talking about college and all of these wonderful things. Like, it's just so sweet. And I think, yeah, the principal, Mr. Knight, like our principal coming in when he did, like also coming in with our grade, I think also made it really special. Or like our graduation was like the first class that he got to see through to the end. I think that made
Mhm.
it such a unique event. Like, yeah, it was very, very special.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Speaking of high school, this time in more of a musical sense, I'm putting together basically a school survival playlist, and I'm curious if you have any pieces of music to add to that, whether it be like something that got you through high school or college, or just really a song that you like think back to in those moments.
I listen to a lot of music all over the genres, but I would say this one specific one, mainly just because of Kaylin and I. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we would sit in the parking lot during lunch and we played What Ifs by Kane Brown, that country song. And it came out when we were a lot younger, probably early teens. And it was just Kayla and I would sit in her car and just scream that song. And it was just one of those songs that's so fun to just like scream and sing to, even though you're not really necessarily relating to it. But it was just one of those fun memories that I would always have with Kaylin. And that was a core song that we put on all the time, especially our senior year. So
Yeah,
I picked
it
that one.
is. It's such a good song. It's interesting, I think, how resonant country was. I think both to like because the last few people I've talked to, Kayla and a couple other friends, is like I feel like country songs have been the ones that have been coming up recently, and I think that there's something. I'd be curious to look into like why that's such a I feel like a high school staple, but it definitely was with us, and I think it definitely was with a lot of people that I knew. So it's very cool. It's a very
Yeah, it's
fun
interesting to see what people
fun
pick.
genre. Yeah. Oh, it's so great. There's like so many different trends. Like I love looking at this playlist and just thinking through everything because there's a lot of like it's just so many interesting songs that are so various and like I feel like they all really hit on different elements of high school and college and stuff. But it's a good mix. Now, for the last question of the interview, I want to ask, what would you tell yourself as a freshman in high school and then at the start of college?
Probably freshman me in high school. I would tell myself to be more outgoing. I was kind of just, I stuck with the same couple people, which was fine because they became like my closest friends now from high school. But it wasn't until like my senior year that I actually started to like branch out a little bit more and talk to more people openly. And I don't know if like COVID kind of had something to do with that because we hit it right at sophomore and then part of the aftermath of our junior year. But I would just probably tell myself to like go out and make more friends. Like it's okay to branch out. You don't have to have just the same friends the whole like 4 years. And once I actually started to do that my senior year, I made really fun memories of people that I didn't think I would be really close with. And so I'd probably give myself like almost that same advice here is just be out, like be more outgoing. I have another whole 4 years to do something. So, and it's like if that's one of my regrets from high school, I don't want to make it the same regret here. So I'm going to probably give myself the same advice and just try to branch out and try different things because I feel like you have the most opportunities when you're a freshman, either in high school or in college, because you have all that time left. And it's just you have so many experiences you can try.
Yeah, no, I think you're 10,000% correct. Of like, yeah, there's so much potential in being a freshman in high school and college, and I think throughout all of that experience. But yeah, it's so easy to be like, because everybody, even if it's like by second semester, it feels like all that like friendship shifting is kind of cooled off, and like everybody's set. No, they're not. I'm gonna break the fourth wall. Like, no, they're absolutely. I'm so very happy and very appreciative of the friends that I've made so far at college. But it's also like, I think that there are still people in classes where like I'll meet new people and like have new connections, and I think that's something really cool and really special about this whole thing. I think even sophomore, junior, senior year, it's like the same thing will continue to be existent, where it's like it never feels, I think, as set in stone and as like, well, I can't talk to them because X, Y, or Z. I don't think that's ever as true as it seems to be.
Exactly. Like I just don't think you ever have to be as stagnant as you think. Like you don't have to just stay the same, like, oh, this is me and I'm going to be this way for the next 4 years. It's like, no, you can adapt, you can change. Like there's so many things that can happen in that time frame to change you. So it's like just be open-minded to it.
Absolutely. And 10,000%. And I think with that, we've kind of reached the main ending of this podcast. I'm so thankful to have you on. The last question I want to ask is, do you have anything kind of to plug or to share, to put out there?
Not really, just Carter's podcast.
Oh, thank you. That is very sweet. Well, thank you, Juliana. Thank you, listener, for listening to another episode of the Student Council. I have been Carter Dvorak. That over there has been Juliana Decker. Juliana, any other final parting words before we head out of here?
Not really, but thank you so much for having me, and it's been so great to talk to you. And I would just say, anyone who's listening, don't overthink. You got it. No matter what, it's going to work out.
Absolutely. Darn right. Thank you so much. If you want to find us, our Instagram is at StuCoPod. Our email is StuCoPod@gmail.com. Wishing you the best of luck and the best of times in all of your educational endeavors. You don't need to overthink it. The Student Council is adjourned.